Lisa had realized that Kevin was cheating on her long before he admitted it himself. There was a full bouquet of classic signs of an unfaithful husband. He began to pay less attention to her. Although even so, in general, for the last 8 years it was a little. He stayed after work for a long time for dubious reasons. He was always carrying his phone and put a password on it. And from the joint budget began to disappear amounts, about which Kevin, who previously liked detailed financial reports for himself and his wife, could not explain clearly where they went. Cheating, gasped Allison's best friend, who had dropped by to gossip about everything. Cheating, Lisa confirmed in a casual tone. Shall I cut another pie? I think next time I'll try adding more grated cheese to the filling. I can't talk about pie when it's like this. Allison waved her hands in the air. You can, said the lady of the house calmly, and went to cut a pie for herself. I'll have delicious pies for the rest of my life. But the man is here, and now he's gone. I've already filed for divorce. I mean, what about him? Kevin doesn't know yet. I'll let you know when he gets back tonight. I'm sorry, by the way, but I'm not going on a barbecue this weekend. I still have to pack. Lisa wrinkled her nose. I feel kitchen appliances cannot save. I have no receipts for a long time. And my mother-in-law just loves it. That juicer from us will take for a couple of days. Then the bread maker for a week. So let her buy her own, Allison snorted. Or let her son provide for her. And this is your own money. Don't you dare give in. Sometimes it's easier to give in than to have my mother-in-law find me in Antarctica and demand that I give it back, said Lisa. Nothing, I'll buy a better one later. Where are you, by the way? To my parents. Perhaps, sighed Lisa. No matter how it was given to her, all this relatively easy in the emotional, psychological plan, but in terms of what to do after the divorce in life practically, everything was not so simple. The thing was that Lisa's parents lived on the very outskirts, and even in a one-room apartment. Once owned a wonderful 2-bedroom apartment, by the way, but in the mid-2000s risked to sell it. Lisa by this time had already married Kevin to buy a one-room apartment and invest in business. They hoped that the investment would quickly return, and they would become, maybe even millionaires, buy 3 more apartments like they had. Lisa, by the way, his share of the real estate did not start in this business. But the parents, well, it turned out that a distant acquaintance of them either divorced or let them down. Himself a worthless businessman turned out. And the consequences were simple: no money. No apartment. True, their money Lisa also did not save, because in those distant times was, as now already understood, purely foolish in love, and gave her husband money, made major repairs, he closed the loan for the car, and still mother-in-law sent to a sanatorium. All in all, it worked out great. And it was strange. Right now Lisa for some reason was very sorry for that money, even now wanted to cry, had so ineptly managed them when it would be better to put it in an account for herself, and kept for a rainy day. But Lisa also realized that when you marry for great love, then about all sorts of rainy days in the future is not thought. It seems that everything will be fine, and you're together, in mutual understanding, respect, adoration. You exist forever, as they say. Even now, after Kevin betrayed her like that, Lisa could agree with the statement that there is true love in the world. She just wasn't lucky enough. I'll rent an apartment, I guess, she shrugged. The salary allows. Yes, theoretically, with the salary of a senior accountant in a small firm that sells printers and similar equipment, I can afford it, thought Lisa. But there will be so much more to spend. The same loan, which again naively, I took 6 months ago so that Kevin could, you see, please his niece, who wanted to get a smartphone of the latest model for her high school graduation. What did I have in my head together then? Lisa thought. It's a shame and a shame, but we must somehow move on. Let's sign you up on a dating site. Allison suggested it, and Lisa almost dropped the pie. Are you crazy? Why? They say new love is the best cure for a broken heart. If any guy comes to meet me, Lisa grumbled, he's gonna need medicine for a broken nose. That's what I say. No. Thank you. I'm fine. I'll live alone. Cat. Maybe I'll get a cat or a dog. Why? Kevin's allergic to fur, so we're living alone. By the way, why did he cheat? Allison asked. He wanted to, so he cheated. Cut off Lisa, who was starting to get annoyed with the whole conversation. But she also wanted to talk. She was tired of carrying everything in herself. Just without a reason does not happen. At the command of the tips of his ears, cheated. How's that for an answer? Don't be angry, Allison sighed. I just want to help. Maybe, as they say, it's the passion has gone out of your marriage. Or he has, there's a baby in there. Lisa froze, unable to bring the dessert spoonful of pie to her mouth. She hadn't thought about this option somehow. but it was probable. The thing was that Lisa was infertile. The doctor said there was no chance. And how many tears she shed then. And how grateful she was to her husband for not abandoning her. "It's okay," Kevin comforted her. "Do you know how many children there are in my family? I will take care of them to the best of my ability, to compensate, so to speak, for the fact that without their own, the option to take from the orphanage was not considered." Kevin said that his mother would be categorically against it. Period. In general, the opinion of his mother-in-law from the very beginning was the very factor in their relationship of their family life, which could decide something definitively. Kevin was very attached to his parent, who, after the boy's father ran away from responsibility, gave his upbringing the best years, and sacrificed womanizing happiness, as she herself said. And now Lisa had a thought: was not the mother-in-law aware of his cheating? Yes, for sure. And she, of course, was silent. "Well, and I don't care. I don't care about anything anymore." Allison, once again sympathizing with Lisa's family tragedy, finally left. And she went to pack her things. And it wasn't easy. If only because if Lisa had traveled anywhere over the years, one travel bag was enough. But now she had to put such a lot of things somewhere. She couldn't pack everything in bags and knots, could she? As a result, Lisa decided to go to the store, and she was just crossing the threshold of the apartment with several sturdy travel bags, and a couple of huge plaid ones, when she met Kevin, who had come home. His eyes were round and his expression was shocked. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Leaving you," she answered simply. "I'm packing my things. I've already filed for divorce. By the way, what did you do? And what did you expect, husband?" Lisa put down the luggage package, put her hands to her sides. "That I will stay, also proud that my husband is only a mistress on the side, took a mistress, and not to us in the house brought. I did yesterday, I apologized." Wow, what difference does that make? "We didn't have time to talk last night, and I could have explained. I'll listen to explanations about black holes in space, or why dolphins save people, but why you decided to change. No, leave those stories to someone else. It's not that simple, sweetheart. Let me through." Lisa frowned and pushed Kevin aside with her shoulder. "I don't need more of these gestures of not letting go. I owe you an explanation." Kevin followed her. "Go ahead," Lisa grinned darkly. "I won't be listening to you as much as the radio in the car." She began to pack her things, and Kevin started talking. This story began before he met Lisa, when Kevin was a university graduate and a guy in love with his classmate Clara. All friends, acquaintances, and sometimes even random people said what a beautiful couple they were, except that the parents of the young ones had a different opinion. Each of the parties thought that their precious and only child, who had grown into an adult man, was somehow not reasonable enough to choose his own soulmate. In other words, both sides thought that the party was chosen some unsuitable, and it would seem everything is simple after all. It's the 21st century. You can in themselves, without the guidance of parents to understand. But Clara, unlike Kevin, was not ready for rebellion, and she agreed with her parents' opinion. They had to break up. Kevin confessed to Lisa that if another man had come between them, he wouldn't have given up. He would have stood up for his love. But when Clara herself, with tears in her eyes, admitted that she would continue to love him, but they couldn't be together, because then she would lose the love, respect, and support of her father and mother, well, Kevin couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't allow himself to become a man who is such a creep, ruining a whole family for his selfish love. He offered to stay friends. Clara said that maybe it would work out. But it didn't work out. The thing was that for Kevin it turned out to be too painful in the end to communicate with her, to see her around, and to realize that she was not his. And so they stopped communicating altogether. And it was during this difficult period in his life that he met Lisa. And yes, with her, Kevin swore, he had a happy life. Nothing to regret. Nothing to be sad about. Then how did it happen? Lisa asked. What, your Clara divorced her husband, or whoever it was she separated from, and remembered what your first love was like? No, Kevin shook his head. It's not that simple. It turned out that for a long time Clara could not arrange her personal life. She devoted herself to her career. She took care of her parents, and took part in the life of her cousin's children with great enthusiasm. And then true love came into her life, and 6 years ago she finally got married. She invited me to the wedding, Kevin explained. I told you it was a 2-day business trip. I was actually at the wedding. Why couldn't you come with me? I don't know why I thought that, Kevin shrugged. I don't know myself. It doesn't matter, Lisa sighed. But she had her suspicions, and that's when you realized you still loved her. Do you hate me? I just want to figure it out. No. I was just happy for her. I was trying to imagine what it would be like if she married me. But I was thinking about our wedding with you, and I thought that Clara and I were lucky, well, that we had a family happiness for her, for me, in our own way, albeit with other people. We sometimes corresponded later, called each other, exchanged photos from vacations. They had a son. They named him Gregor. A boy, he looks like his father. Kevin was silent for a long time, looking out the window. Lisa didn't rush him. It seemed to her that her husband was gathering his strength to go on and tell her something important, something that would clarify everything. He was dead, Clara's husband, a year ago in a car accident, and her parents, too. The four of them were in the car. Clara survived, as the doctors say, by a miracle. Lisa gasped. No matter how she felt about the woman, she couldn't help but sympathize with such a terrible loss. It was just awful. Clara was strong, Kevin continued. She knew she had to take care of her son. Sometimes I visited them, and gradually, would you believe me if I told you that at first I didn't think of anything like that? I just wanted to make her feel a little better. Sometimes I'd take her to the market or something. Sometimes I'd help her with the paperwork, the inheritance. We'd take Gregor to the park and walk around, and then Kevin swallowed hard, and it was clear that he was having a hard time with this part of the story. I suddenly realized that I looked at Clara differently, you see. I began to try on the role of her husband, Gregor's father. I suddenly thought I could have a normal and complete family. I'm sorry. I'm saying the most horrible things. You don't have to continue. Lisa went into the kitchen, stood at the sink and began to wash a cup. Then she realized that it was actually clean, and with a nervous gesture, so that she almost broke it, put the dishes back. 1 minute I wanted to drink tea, the next I didn't. In general, you decided to exchange one broken wife infertile for a wife with a child. Well, it's convenient. What can I say? And profitable. She needs you very much. A support, a protector, a breadwinner. You know, if it makes you feel better, you can hit me. Kevin lowered his head. I won't. Well, I'd hit you, but what good would it do? What, is that gonna start the time machine? No. Then there's no point. Anyway, that's enough. Let's keep talking. But let's change the subject, okay? I filed the divorce papers, and now we have to decide. You have to get those papers, Kevin said in a muffled voice. We can't get divorced. Did I hear that? Lisa's jaw almost dropped. What do you want? I do not understand what you want. You want to leave your wife and your mistress and child. You know, I didn't expect such insolence from you. This is out of line. It's just... You misunderstood. Kevin looked at his wife carefully, as if he wanted to burn a hole in her eyes. It's not like that. What about it? Lisa's nerves were fraying, a thread thinner than silk, and her eyes were getting a little darker. Explain it already. And Kevin explained. In short, chopped up sentences, he laid out the terrible truth. It turned out that Clara had recently been diagnosed with a disease. She had only a few months to live, and she dared to ask Kevin for one thing. She wanted him to adopt Gregor after she died, and that he and Lisa could be his parents. The thing was, Clara's relatives refused to take the boy in. Suddenly, the people she had thought of as her relatives for years suddenly showed that they were not ready for such responsibility. Some of them didn't need children at all. Some of them had enough of their own. It turned out that Gregor risked going to an orphanage, unless Kevin and Lisa took him in. We were going to meet you. I mean, Clara was getting ready to talk to you the other day. Because, of course, you can't do something like this alone. And you know she understands that you can refuse. I didn't promise her anything for you. Believe me, I realize that it's not what you expected. Gregor, he's not your son. Lisa asked suspiciously. Yes, Kevin sighed. We can do a genetic test. He's from another man, for sure. And you are at that. Lisa waved her hand in the air. So, you're ready to adopt the child of your first and not forgotten for years of love, even though the child is not yours. It's so weird. I just don't know how you even came to this decision. I don't know, Kevin grinned bitterly. I just suddenly realized that I couldn't just leave that boy as he was. But don't answer me right away, okay? It's not easy, it's a lot to think about, of course. A lot of things to talk about, I guess. But you just think about it, okay? Lisa thought she was dreaming. She was having a nightmare. She couldn't wake up. She nodded. Okay, I need a couple days. Don't say another word about any of this, okay? Just live next to each other like neighbors, okay? Kevin was in agreement, and he really didn't talk about it again for the next few days, and had very little contact with his wife at all. Lisa pondered, although It didn't fit in her head somehow, but she immediately dismissed the option to consult with her parents. No need, she decided, to burden them with her troubles. But Allison had to reveal everything the very next day. As her friend, as soon as she saw Lisa, so realized that she had something serious happened, something more than the divorce proceedings that had already begun. "I don't even know what to say," Allison said after she'd found out. "If even you've run out of words, then it's bad enough." Lisa tried to lighten the atmosphere with a joke. "You see, if you think logically, then I can probably agree as a fool." "And they'll ride you?" Allison picked up on that. But there's another option. You know, I've always wanted kids. The joy of motherhood. And I loved Kevin. So maybe this is our chance. It's scary that it's come up like this. It's scary. But maybe we should take the risk." And then Lisa took a breath. "We'll have a family. And his soul will calm down. That he did the right thing. Did not betray the one he once loved." "It's confusing. Strange. Unpredictable." Allison shook her head. "But it's up to you, of course." Lisa thought that she had never seen her husband so happy as when she had told him that she was ready to meet Clara. Lisa had made up her mind to do it. She decided that she was willing to make some effort on herself, to break her pride a little and somehow something else. But she would do it. After all, it could be much better than bitter loneliness if she got divorced now. And then what would be waiting for her? Who'll want her? So there's only the path of forgiveness and acceptance. End of story. And then what will be will be. Clara turned out to be a very nice, pretty woman, and Lisa liked her son very much. "Hello," she smiled at Gregor. "This is for you." She handed him a present, a purple stuffed rabbit. "Thank you," the boy replied. "Would you like a cake?" Mommy bought a cake. And they drank tea together, and they talked about nothing at first, which helped them to stop being so nervous. Then Gregor was sent to watch cartoons, and the adults began to discuss the hardest things. Yes, Clara was now trying treatment, but the doctors said it was useless. But it was necessary to take medication to at least ease the pain. "You call me if you need anything." At the end, when they were leaving, Lisa said, "At any time." "Well, you are not alone, we are with you." When Lisa told Allison everything in colors, she felt so much sympathy that she even cried. But then she declared to her friend that she was a fool, that she could try to find her happiness elsewhere. Maybe a widower with kids would meet her. There is no guarantee that would have met strongly opposed Lisa. "And please, I have already made a decision. Do not dissuade me, okay?" Lisa filed for divorce, and she and Kevin began to prepare all the many papers that would be required for Gregor's adoption. Now Lisa almost always accompanied her husband when he went to visit Clara. Kevin also swore that he had only slept with Clara once, and promised he wouldn't do it again. Honestly, Lisa was touched by such tactfulness of her husband. Time flew. It went by fast. Clara went to the neighboring city to some private clinic. Her doctor insisted on it, and at this time Gregor settled in the apartment of Lisa and Kevin. And that's when Lisa was hit by a wave. She was suddenly flooded with what she herself defined as maternal love for this boy. She spoiled Gregor, gave him all her free time, and in her mind, she had vivid pictures of her and her husband taking Gregor to the first grade. Later they would buy a cottage and go to it for summer vacations, and go with the boy to the river and to the forest for mushrooms. And then Gregor will grow up, but he will be a nice boy, and for sure, yes, he would be. But he would stop calling her Aunt Lisa in time, and would call her Mom. And now Lisa suddenly realized that she was happy. Yes, it was wrong somehow to be happy when it came from another person's nightmarish life tragedy. But Lisa just couldn't help herself. And then it happened. Just one day, when Clara was already back in town, she called Kevin, and they talked about something for a long time. And then he, having ended the call, turned to his wife whiter than chalk. "What's wrong?" Lisa put her hand to her heart. "Is she worse?" She thought they still had a couple months to live. "Clara's not sick anymore," Kevin said, blinking a lot. "She's cured. The medication, there was one drug, it worked. The doctor said not even 0.1%, but it worked. She's getting better." Lisa sat up. Good thing there was a chair downstairs, so she didn't fall to the floor. Tears flowed from her eyes. What happiness a living person will be. The child won't be an orphan. Yes, the joy was great, but only Lisa far from began to correlate the changes that happened with what could theoretically follow them. And when she finally thought about it, oh, it was like a lightning strike, because she suddenly realized that Clara was her husband's mistress, and he has feelings for her. And basically, what's stopping them from continuing their relationship, so to speak? After all, in that case, Kevin could be a father to Gregor, and she, Lisa, well, she's not even in the equation. And it just so happens that Kevin was the first to bring it all up. Clara wants me to divorce you so we can get married, he said. Oh, Lisa snorted, staring into her cup of tea, as if she could read the future in the tea settling at the bottom. I can understand her. I guess new life. Huh. New horizons and all that. Can I be serious? Do you think I'm joking? No, you know, if you look at it this way, it's a black ingratitude. I was ready to be a mother to someone else's child, and she wants to steal someone else's husband. I can only envy her impudence. I'll never be able to do that. Wouldn't it be easier to live like this? Lisa, Kevin rarely called her by her first name, but now he did, and he put his hand over hers. I actually told her I didn't agree. What? Lisa asked in a colorless voice. And if her spouse now announced that he was leaving to explore the planet Mars, she would have realized it more easily than what sounded. I don't want that. Kevin shook his head. I don't know how it is the way I felt about her is burned out. Or maybe I've gotten used to the fact that she's out of my life. No. You know, it's not like that. I just realized. Realized what? What you were willing to do for me, for our family. Actually, I was willing to do it for me too. I really wanted a real family and a child too, Lisa admitted. But if you were disgusting to me, if I feel nothing for you, then, yes, I would not agree. And that means, Kevin said, that we mean something to each other, right? And I'll tell you what, I said no to Clara. I'll say no to Clara 1,000 times. That's it. That's it. What about Gregor? Lisa's voice trembled. He's a good boy, Kevin said. I've grown fond of him. We're together, but he's not my son. And I think he'll be better off when his mom meets some man, single from the beginning, and he becomes a father to him. Then it'll be right. Yeah, I think they'll do well in the future. And then something happened in Lisa's life that she wasn't prepared for. Kevin said it might be time for them to get a baby from the orphanage. Just a little baby, a baby. But your mom, Lisa, began. But her husband did not let her finish. I was ready to oppose her opinion when we thought of taking Gregor. So why should I look up to him now? In fact, I should have realized this a long time ago, that you and I have our own separate lives, and only we decide what will happen to it. Less than a year later, Lisa and Kevin became foster parents to 2 twin babies at once, and they loved them with all their hearts immediately and forever. And even Lisa's mother-in-law eventually came to terms with their decision, and also became attached to the babies. And then they found out that Clara was getting married, and she called Kevin and Lisa to her wedding offering to make up and be friends. But they said no, because they decided it was time to finally close this chapter in their lives, and start over for their family and only their family.